podcast, and I want to start out the show by we've been teasing this since freaking April, and I feel bad because no, I don't feel bad. We can't make an excuse for our lives being busy sometimes. But the 10th anniversary episode celebration is in the can. It's done. I just got to edit, and it's not going to take much editing, and put it together in a nice little package and release it. So maybe sometime this week, you people will have that in your ear holes. And the 10th anniversary episode finally available. It was a lot of fun recording it. We had a blast. Long joined us for the show and brought back a lot of memories, a lot of good discussion. And I think you people are going to enjoy it.
Yeah, no, it was really fun going back and talking about some of our favorite moments and highlights of just us recording together. And sometimes whenever we didn't, and things we brought to Mark's Long's attention, like the Robo Jocks episode, which if you haven't caught that one was pretty fun, and some other ones from past years. So once released, definitely check that out. It was fun recording. Hopefully you guys will like it as much as we did producing it, and having fun poking at each other and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean it's 90 minutes of good stuff. We do some top 5, a couple of games, bring back some things we've done on the show in the past, and reminisce a little bit. Maybe it's a little bit of tooting our own horns of some, but we felt it was important to acknowledge this anniversary, because a lot of podcasts don't make it 10 years, let alone 400 episodes or even close to that. And we've keep on doing this because we enjoy it, and we've got much more to come. Our summer blockbuster movies continues today and next week and onward. We're not done with that. That's going to run all the way till pretty much middle of August or so. We're just going to keep doing blockbuster films and movies that are big summer hits, and have fun doing that. And but look at it for the rebelradiopodcast.com for the release of that 10th anniversary show soon. And of course, on all podcast apps where available, you can find our show. And and also if you are on those apps, and when you're scrolling on your phone, which everyone does constantly,
all the time
on our phones, stop on Spotify or stop on Apple and leave us a quick 5-star review. That would be awesome, because we'd appreciate it. And it might even get you a shout out on the show, unless you're a fake review like this guy named Richard E. Cheese one time, and leaving a review on the show. And I know like this motherfucker and who he is.
That's the famous singer Richard Cheese.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Yeah. But other than that, man, yeah, man, I'm just, it's been a week, 4th of July is almost upon us in America. And so, it's a busy time working in the industry we do, and I'm a little tired, but I'm making it through. But other than that, man, just glad we got that done. And how's your week been?
Yeah, same thing. Just getting prepared for a holiday. We work in an industry where, it is demanding of both of us and what we do, to prepare for it. And, there's that. And then just, caught some good stuff this week. So I've been trying to go to the movies and see Mad Max, Furiosa. And, I could just, there were times that I was trying to make it, and we just ended up going to see other things. The kids wanted to go to the movies. So, we ended up going to see Inside Out 2 that one week, instead of me going to go see Mad Max. So finally, Mad Max Furiosa hit home video, or streaming, I guess. It used to be called home video, but it hit streaming. And, instead of going to the movies separately, which is something me and my wife do, we bought it, paid the $30, figured we're going to probably buy it anyways. And we watched it at home and really liked it. Liked Mad Max Furiosa. It was very entertaining. I like that it gave you a little bit of a teaser of Mad Max and a still shot. You've got basically a story that butts up right up to Fury Road. So that was cool. Just kind of seeing all the events leading up into that. It's epic. I think visually, Mad Max Fury Road is better just for that thunderstorm that they have to drive in. Because I did rewatch Fury Road just to kind of get the whole experience. And I was just like, we're just watching on the TV and we're just like, wow, that thunderstorm that they drive in chasing Charlize Theron in that movie. I think it's just hard to top that, but I really like Furiosa, and I think it was worth buying. Definitely gonna watch again. I know you saw it.
So definitely good companion to Free Road. I started kind of rewatching it, and first off, it looks amazing in 4K. One of the, I know most recent movies look good in 4K, but this is one of the absolute better ones. I mean, it's phenomenal looking on a good TV. Yeah, man, it's I can see visually because Fury Road is a little bit different in style in the way that it has a lot going on visually, but I think this is a nice visual companion to it. I think one thing I rewatching some of it again the other day is just how good Hemsworth is in this movie. He's awesome. And Derek, he probably won't get any sort of award recognition, but because it's a sci-fi action film, but he's almost worthy, man. I mean, maybe that's going a little too far, but I think he's really good in the movie compared to what I've seen him do in the past. And I think it's a freaking great movie, and it's just a damn shame people didn't go see it. I don't know, wrong time for it. Maybe Memorial Day weekend wasn't a big time for a rated R movie. Not that when Inside Out 2 is blowing up the box office right now, one of the biggest hits of the year. So I don't know when it would have been a good time. But it's it's a shame, man, because it's a good film, and I'm hoping that we still get George Miller to make the third one. I don't know if it'll turn out that way. Hopefully Furiosa plays better overseas and does good at home. But man, it's an awesome film. It really is, and deserves to be seen.
No, definitely. I also I had pre-ordered The Boy and the Heron. I don't know if you were able to check that out.
No, but I'm going to pick on you a little bit here, okay? Because as people know in the podcast, we share some accounts, and I'm going through your Voodoo account, man. Do you click the wrong buttons on what you're buying and not pay attention? You have a lot of stuff in standard definition. I'm like, how do you pre-order something and not order it in HD or at least HD version? Yeah. Did you notice that? You ordered it in standard definition. And I haven't watched it. I'm going to try to watch it, but I'm just like, and you have a lot of stuff in your account that's in SD. I'm like, man, does Matt not pay attention?
Yeah.
Since you
I know my older stuff. Yeah.
Since you just pre-order, you could probably email Voodoo and say, hey, I messed up. Can I get the upgrade for like $5 instead of paying $20 for the upgrade? Voodoo's customer service is usually pretty good.
Yeah, they usually are. There was one time my son bought like some, I forgot what he bought, but he bought a whole series of
animation's not as important. Animation, especially cell animation, is not as important to the high definition as CGI animation is, but it still can make a difference, But I had to pick on you a little bit on that. I was like, what the fuck is this SD shit, Matt? This isn't 1991.
Get with the times, baby. Yeah. But yeah, man, you got to check out The Boy and the Heron. It's definitely good. We rewatched it. Still a good Miyazaki film. Not sure where it might sit, but it's definitely one of the better ones. Probably in the top 10, I would say.
I've read reviews that say that it's the most it's not as kid accessible as some of his other movies, even though it's definitely for children. Apparently it's kind of a deep cut, even for adults. I've read it takes a couple of viewings to kind of like soak in the actual story of it. Like most Miyazaki films are usually some very in-depth stories, but you can kind of pick up on them. Like you have to let them unfold. They're real in-depth in the way they start. They take in about an hour into it, you're like, oh, okay. I've heard this one is pretty like in depth the entire time, and what it means and what it goes through. And a lot of critics even said it takes a couple of viewings.
Yeah. I'm just glad he goes back to, I feel like his strong theme, and it's like, you know, post World War II kind of stuff, you know, family that was, you know, impacted by the war. And that's, you know, something that is close to him. And I feel like, you know, it shows, because anytime he does something that's close to that era, it's pretty darn good. And yeah, definitely check it out whenever you get a chance. A lot of voice actors, or a lot of actors who lent their voices for this film: Bale, William Dafoe, Florence Pugh, Mark Hamill, Batista. Yeah, I mean, it's like just, and I didn't realize Batista was in it, and then I heard the voice, and I was like, oh shit, that's Batista. I was like, a very, very noticeable voice. So definitely cool to watch. So check it out when you can. I watched episode 5 of The Acolyte, and I watched the recent episode of The Boys, episode 4. Episode 5. Yeah, episode 5.
I'm so far behind on The Boys.
Dude, it's nuts. I definitely think this is a weaker season, but episodes 4 and 5 definitely kick it up to the like crazy part of The Boys. Just nuts. Homelander is a fiend. And he continues to prove it. But other than The Acolyte and The Boys, I will say I liked episode 5 of The Acolyte better. It obviously had if you watched it, it had what we've been waiting for, some lightsaber fights. And you know, I was definitely entertained.
I watched it, and they had some cool lightsaber fights. It had, man, I'm going to, you know, long is right, man, for Mark to say something negative about Star Wars, which is rare, but man, I'm, okay.
I'll give it points for choreography. Yeah.
Okay. To an extent. Here's my problem. A lot of it's done in the dark to cover some of the bad choreography. Okay. And I'm not talking about the villain and Soul and the Padawan, X-23 from Wolverine, from Logan. They're good. The rest of the Jedi actors in it, like, they just look like they're hopping around. If you pay attention, there's some bad choreography and there's some very good choreography.
Yeah.
And they cover it up with that typical thing they do in films. Let's make it dark so you can't see the rough stuff. Okay. But yes, it did award us with some cool lightsaber fights. Maybe there's a twist coming. I don't know. But the Asian drug dealer is the bad guy. What? It comes out of left field. It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
There's nothing that even alluded to that. This was just some putz. And now he's the bad guy. I'm like,
yeah, he's what? A smuggler.
So I'm thinking maybe that there's someone else involved, like he has a master, and that's why he never took May on fully as his apprentice, because of the rule of 2. So maybe there's a twist coming here, but it still doesn't make sense as to why he's the bad guy. What happened to Jedi being able to sense something's wrong? They didn't sense that the Asian drug dealer smuggler was a Force user. Soul doesn't sense that May and Osha switch places. There's so much wrong with this in Jedi lore. It was bugging me. Soul should have known that's not May, or that's not Osha. He didn't feel it. That she's powerful enough she can block her darkness. Come on. Okay. Yeah. She's not that powerful. She doesn't even really know how to use a lightsaber.
It's a series that's made by people that don't really understand Star Wars. Like in one episode, they can read your mind. That's not a Jedi. That didn't
bother me too much. You know, that we always wanted to have new Star Wars powers. I'm like, and it's used so smally that I made a word that didn't bother me too much. You know, as breaking complete lore. A Jedi should be able to sense the darkness.
You feel search their feelings.
There's 7
Vader
Jedi there. Not one of them knows the smuggler uses the dark side. Like what?
Yeah, Masters.
And all of a sudden he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
And then his acting, oh my God, it's atrocious. The smuggler dude, the Darth Teeth, as they're calling him on the internet. He's terrible.
I've heard Smilo Ren. He's got the smile.
He's so overdramatic. Oh, May, I'm gonna destroy you. But oh my God, stop, dude.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with the episode. There's a lot I liked in it. It is, out of the 5 episodes, it's probably the coolest episode, but there's so much wrong with it too.
They should have kept the helmet on, I think, and just left him just like, a fucking, stoic, don't know who he is, just slicing around. That would have been more terrifying.
I thought there was,
is this guy,
I thought there was some cool stuff too, where he's targeting their lightsabers and making them malfunction for a minute. That was cool.
Yeah.
Something we hadn't seen before. I just, man, this show, I'm hoping its last 3 episodes, it gives us something to bring it all together a little nicer than it's been so far. I don't completely hate it, as some people on the internet do. I still don't think it's a 3.3 show. I'd give it like a 5 to 6 rating out of 10.
Yeah.
I think it's a kind of a middle ground. It's out of the Disney stuff that's been out since the Disney Plus, all the Disney Plus shows. And when I say Disney, I mean the Disney Plus shows. I'm never going to be a Star Wars fan that blames Disney. These are still made by Lucasfilm. I think it's not been the best. It probably is the worst of them, but I still don't think it's terrible. I mean, it's Star Wars.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be terrible. I'm going to find something like I told you before, go watch the holiday special if you want to find some terrible Star Wars.
Or the Ewok movies.
The Ewok movies are kind of fun. You got to understand what those are made for. Or go watch Star Wars Resistance, that cartoon from a couple years ago. It's not that good. Yeah. That's one of the not so good things they've done in this era. I'm just hoping that the show turns it around, gets a little better towards the end. I'm not having a lot of faith in it. So far we're more than halfway through, and I just we'll see. There's a lot to wrap up in 3 episodes. I do give them that. They've opened up a lot of storyline, and you have 3 episodes, essentially anywhere from hour and a half to 2 hours or so of television time to wrap up a story. Assuming they wrap it up. I mean, they very well could leave it open for a second season, but because here's the strange thing: despite this show not being as liked, it's getting watched. It's one of Disney Plus's highest rated shows lately. People are watching it. So sometimes negative publicity is good publicity.
Yeah.
It's been apparently it's more watched than Ahsoka. Did I read that? Or maybe I'm wrong, but I know it's being watched. So people are watching it. So it's still Star Wars people.
Because it's like you have a lot of people that are bringing focus to it and wanting to review it, even if they have a largely negative outlook on the film. Or on the film, on the series that pre-existed before it even came out. They're still reviewing it and watching it and bringing attention to it. So, like you said, even though it's negative publicity, it's still publicity, and it's having an effect.
That's right, man. So we'll see how it turns out. Man, I watched that this week, and I watched a few more episodes of Fairy Tail. Still kind of watching the anime. I kind of like it. It's funny. It's good. It's fun. I kind of don't stay completely focused on it at times. I zone out of it a bit, but it's one of those animes you can kind of watch it on and off and still pick up what's going on. It's quirky and it's legitimately funny. We know the running gag on the show is Mark doesn't like comedy, but no, there's some stuff in this show that I find pretty funny. So I've been watching that, and I think that's really all I watched other than some. I know what I've been watching too on Netflix. I've been watching Cyberpunk Edge Runners, that anime. Do not ever watch this with your kids in the room. It's extremely violent, extremely lots of nudity, based on the video game of the same name. I haven't played the game yet. I want to play the game. And I think I am getting around to the game eventually, but I've been watching Cyberpunk Edge Runners on Netflix, and most of the Netflix animes have been kind of hit or miss. This one's definitely a hit. It's freaking cool, Matt. I think you would like it because you kind of like that kind of Blade Runner style science fiction. It's quick. It's super. What's the word? Intensely fast and fun, and I'm enjoying it so far. And so I'm about 3 episodes into that. So that's really kind of all I watch, some little animes and besides Star Wars: The Acolyte this week. And just, watching random things. And I'm always watching WWE documentaries on Peacock. I'm kind of obsessed with. I've always watched wrestling, but since earlier this year, I really got hardcore back into it thanks to my 9-year-old, and been watching lots of wrestling documentaries and collecting wrestling action figures now. So but it's just a part of the game.
I need to.
It's such a natural thing to me. I can't believe I've never collected wrestling action figures in the past, considering how big of a fan I have been of WWE since I was a kid or in high school, and got away from it for a few years, but now getting back into it hardcore, and it's taking up a lot of my time, so to speak, when I have time. but yeah, man. So August is going to be a cool month with bookends, and then we have Batman: The Caped Crusader coming August 1st to Amazon Prime, and then August 29th we have Terminator Zero on Netflix. Talking about Netflix animes. We still don't have a full trailer for this, as far as I know, just a teaser. I'm curious what this is, if it's going to be. I kind of want it to be its own thing. I kind of wanted to don't tie in with John Connor and all that stuff. I want this Terminator Zero to kind of be something new. I think that'd be kind of a cool approach. Just do a Terminator story. We don't need to send people back in time. We don't need, just do something cool with it. So we'll see what Netflix does with this. I'm assuming a trailer will be pretty soon, since they announced the voice cast and they announced the premiere date of this franchise. And I know this is a franchise that you and I both dig a lot. Being a Terminator fan is kind of like being a Highlander fan. You kind of have to take the good with the bad. The continuity is a clusterfuck. And there's some really good and there's some really bad. Now, granted, Terminator is a better franchise overall than Highlander, but they're easy to compare. And part of that problem is different studios putting their hands in the movies, different studios making television shows. We had Fox make Terminator, Sarah Connor Chronicles. We had, Warner Brothers Television make the Highlander TV show, which was excellent. Then different studios making the film. So things got messy. And that's the biggest problem with Terminator. You have 5 Terminator films.
Flipping hands.
5 Terminator films that were all made by different studios, except for, I think Salvation and Terminator 3 were the only 2 that were made by Warner Brothers, I think. And then I can't remember who made Genesis, and they might have been Warner Brothers, but different divisions. But anyway, they've been a mess over the years. But today we're going to talk Terminator Salvation, which is was the movie that was supposed to reboot the franchise. Terminator 3, Rise of the Machine, was relative success, but Arnold was ready to move on. Things were ready to move on, so they took the approach with this film of let's move forward and let's tell a future story, and let's make it about what happens later and sending John back in time and all that. And they had plans for a trilogy to do this, and the trilogy was all going to tie in with the original Terminator eventually, where we'd send John back in time. Unfortunately, we only got one film. And it's not because the film wasn't successful. The film was relatively successful. We only got one film mostly because of behind the scenes issues. Christian Bale didn't even want to do the movie, but the studio bugged him. Christian Bale wanted to hire the director. They said no, they're hiring Mac G. Christian Bale straight up said, "Who the fuck is Mac G?" He didn't even know who he was. So he had dinner with Mac G and he talked to him, and Mac G convinced him, said, "Hey, give me a chance." Christian Bale said, "Okay, I'll do it." Part of this was Bale's contract with Warner Brothers because of the Batman films. He owed them more films, so he kind of had to do it. He's like, I'll do a Terminator film. Bale was real apprehensive about he's already like, I'm already Batman. Bale never wanted to do franchises. He didn't want to get stuck as John Connor. He had a famous tirade on set that you can still go find on the internet. Where everybody out. Which is I think has been done as which has been done as bad lip reading over Batman videos, if I remember right. Mac G said he'll never work with Christian Bale again. Christian Bale said the same thing. Fuck you, Mac G. I don't care. So basically, the whole thing fell apart. We only got one film. Of course, the young man who plays Kyle Reese, of course, passed away, which also affected
Anton Yelkin.
To move forward.
Yeah,
Anton Yelkin. I can't think of his name. Thank you. Because they came close to doing a sequel. Mac G was going to come back, and Anton Yelkin was going to come back, but Bale wasn't coming back. Sam Worthington was considering coming back, but he didn't. But it all, like I said, all fell apart. It never happened, and they moved on to Terminator Genesis, which is a whole nother horrible story.
Yes,
but where they paid Arnold Schwarzenegger a shit ton of money to come back and make another Terminator film.
and you had an actor that did not look like Kyle Reese. Well, Yelkin does a really good job of pulling off that slim, slender look, and he's fast like Michael Biehn was. You know, he's just quick, acts like he's been in a fight before and knows what to do.
Yeah.
And I like the "Come with me if you want to live" callback too.
Yeah, I mean, the crazy thing is all that negative stuff about Terminator Salvation. There's a lot of cool stuff in this movie. It starts off a little clunky. The movie starts off a little clunky, introducing you this new world that you're not as familiar with compared to the other Terminator films. But once it gets rolling, it becomes a pretty good chase movie with some cool surprises. I really think some of the things introduced in this would have been freaking awesome in future films, like Sam Worthington's character Marcus being a infiltrator style Terminator that looks like a human and acts like a human. And I so badly wanted him to turn evil in this movie and see why he's a Terminator, but he never does.
That was the original
script.
Well,
but instead they have him have a heart like the T-800 in Terminator 2, and he gives his heart to John Connor at the end of the film. And I'm like, it would have been so fucking cool to see him turn rogue and go bad, you know? And it doesn't happen. The motorcycle machines are cool in this. There's a lot. This movie is one of those movies that oozes cool. And has some really cool concepts for the Terminator universe. I still can't believe Michael Ironside's in this fucking movie, which is pretty cool.
Which bonus points. Movie, you're like, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Anytime Michael Ironside's in a movie, that's fucking bonus points, baby.
There's I think some of the biggest issues with this film are they spent a lot of money to get Worthington and Bale and bring Arnold back just for his likeness in this. That the supporting cast in this movie is pretty rough. Moon Bloodgold can't act her way out of a part. Yeah, Common. Yeah, he's okay. Common always does a good thing about Common is he always does a good job in every role he's in, but basically the same in every movie. He has no acting range. You're just going to get Common, and that's
kind of like Michael Cera.
You
know, what you're going to get. Same thing.
But Moon Bloodgold can't act her way out of a box, but she can take a shirt off.
In the rain.
In the rain. The bad guys that attack her in that rain scene look like hey, you want to be in a movie? Let's hire you off the street. They can't act either. Yeah. So there's some little issues like that in this movie. And I'm not expecting any science fiction movie to be I'm not expecting any science fiction movie to be an action or an acting classic, but come on, Mac G's direction is a little rough at times. There are scenes that look really good, like the motorcycle scene, and then the hunter killer attacking the gas station. Then there's other scenes that towards the end of the film, they're all in the dark in the laboratory and all that the camera's so close you can't tell what's going on. It's like, back the camera up, dude. And that's being a former music video director. It's kind of what. But if you go watch Mac G films, a lot of his movies are like that. I don't even know what
Charlie's
his best
Angels
would be on his.
The Charlie's Angels films. That's what he was known for. And so a lot of people were kind of a little apprehensive and taken back at that they picked McG because they're like, really? The dude from the Charlie's Angels films is going to direct a gritty, greasy looking Terminator film. And, given his background, he actually didn't do too bad.
No, the look of the film was fine.
Yeah. It looks good. It looks different than how Cameron depicted the future. It's more grays and gritty. Looks like Book of Eli kind of stuff. And then you've got, Cameron. His looks more like silver and blue. And it's always dark because, of course, as Kyle Reese said, they attacked at night, and hid during the day. Which is something that, a continuity thing here, but, it's no big deal, really. I like that Skynet is evolving, and you get an evolving Skynet, and that's something that he wanted. He wanted to show that Skynet was still growing and evolving, and they wanted to show a more primitive weapon, human. So that's why he didn't want to go with like plasma guns or laser rifles or anything like that, like Cameron's future depicted. And it was said that the set picked like a different moment from the previous films that they wanted to incorporate into the film. And the beginning where in the first Terminator film, where a foot of Terminator steps on a human skull and crushes it. The beginning of this film starts off with a helicopter crushing the head of a Terminator.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be a callback to the first film. So there's subtle things like that. And then of course you always get the classic lines, "I'll be back," "Come with me if you want to live." And then, Sarah Connor came back and gave her voice, Linda Hamilton, in the recordings. And I like that. So you had some callbacks to the original films. That was kind of fun. But yeah, I wish maybe they would have had some more supporting cast. They were going to bring Nick Stahl back at one point and Claire Danes, but with the time jump, they're like, no, we're not going to go that route. And Bryce Dallas Howard comes in as Catherine Brewster, who is now Catherine
Is she
Connor.
pregnant while filming this?
I don't know if she was actually pregnant.
She looks a little like pregnant.
She is pregnant, but I don't know if she was like supposed to be carrying John Connor's baby and they just never said anything, or if she was actually pregnant. Right. And they just, we'll just let the audience assume that it's John Connor's, child. I like that it's a like some people complain that Arnold's skin looks rubbery, but even if the CGI looks rubbery, I feel like that kind of goes in line with Kyle Reese's depiction of how like the early versions of those Terminators had rubber skin. Yeah. They say, oh, you could spot them a mile away, rubber skin. He's like, these are different. They have bad breath. They have body odor. And you automatically know that when they're farming these humans, it's probably to cultivate their skin to put on these things. So McG was able to kind of get that, horror type of, aspect into the film. I feel like whenever he
stopped everything he was doing to fly in for a day just so they could scan his likeness. And he didn't do any actual filming, but he was like, Arnold, he broke some time in his schedule just to do it.
From governing California.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Here, if I had made this movie, I would have spent more time developing John Connor how to be a leader, listening to those tapes of his mother. And I would have focused the story. All the stuff with Skynet at the end, I would have left out of the movie. I would have saved it for the second one. I would have made this more of a classic tale about Marcus being an infiltrator who infiltrates the resistance, tries to kill John, and then they realize at the end, Skynet is changing. We're going to leave it open, go to part 2. Then all that stuff with Skynet destroying that facility, you could have done the second one. And I think that's my biggest issue with this. It feels like it tries to do too much. You start out this really cool story where they find this infiltrator Terminator, and they wanted to destroy him, which the real John Connor would have absolutely destroyed him. Would have never let him live. So that's kind of a weird hole in the story. Okay, it would have been automatic. No, we destroy the thing, but they leave him alive long enough to Moon Blood Gold to rescue him. But then they never really come back around to that infiltrator story. Instead, it shifts to this other story where Michael Ironside's all like, "We have to destroy this facility," and John Connor's like, "Well, no." John Connor's like, "We have to destroy this facility." Michael Ironside's, "You're not in charge. We're not doing that." And then Connor's like, "Fuck that. We're doing it anyway." So they're destroying this facility and all this, and then they come back around to the Marcus story, and Marcus ends up being like not the infiltrator he should be, and just gives him his heart. It's kind of weird. So there's like a lot going on with that part of the story, and I feel like the story could have more focus if they would have left it about the infiltrator, made it more of a simplified Terminator versus John story. I know they didn't want to do the same thing over again, but it would have made sense.
Yeah, Cameron said that the reason he felt the film wasn't as well received was because they didn't change it up enough. But I felt like they did add some, different changes. I think Bale, I think he does a better job depicting John Connor than Nick Stahl did. Nick Stahl looks like he's still, a kid, like he never grew up.
Bill's
And
Connor looks more rugged. He's been through some war. Yeah.
Yeah, he looks like the one that you see in a blip of Terminator 2 whenever Sarah Connor is talking about him,
Mm-hmm.
and it shows him, just stoic,
Standing there,
commanding. Yeah, he acts more like his mom in this one. He's very paranoid, and his mom was very paranoid, which makes sense. It makes sense that he would be like his mom after she raised him the way she did. And she's always been paranoid about trusting anything, and letting anything close to you, especially not trusting machines. But yeah,
Right.
so like your point of letting him live, it's like there ain't no way that in the deleted extra scene for the extended edition Terminator 2, she was going to shoot Arnold in the head while he had himself open whenever he was trying to reset his chip so he could learn.
It's in the extended version, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like she was going to end him right there, even though he helped them escape. He helped all of them escape and everything. So even then, she didn't trust. So it's like it took a lot to gain her trust, and I felt like Bale, if he's depicting Sarah Connor, he wouldn't have allowed that. And then the ending we were going to get that got leaked, that would have been different. Are you familiar with it?
Mm-mm.
So it was going to be John dies, and they decide.
I remember kind of reading that. Yeah.
Yeah, they were going to have John Connor die, and they were going to have his likeness or his face like grafted onto Marcus's body, because and after Marcus kind of like evil and does infiltrate, kills Common, kills Moonblood Gold, and a couple others. They're basically able to reset him, and they put Connor's likeness onto him. And because they feel like it's better for Connor to survive as a symbol than actually have Connor live. And so they feel like they need him just to be there and inspire people and rally people to the cause.
Weird.
And so once it got leaked, they're like, oh, well, shit, we need to redo the third act. And that's what they did. They redid the third act.
So maybe that's why the third act's a little messy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they had to backtrack and redo it.
Interesting. I mean, it's a shame this film didn't turn a little bit better and not necessarily be a little more successful, because it did okay, but be a little more people get along behind the scenes. But Bale, it's no secret that Bale's a little tough to work with. It's not Mike G's not the only director that's had issues. When Christopher Nolan seems to be the only director that's got along with him well. I think the director of Out of the Furnace had issues with Bale. So it's been kind of a known thing that he's been tough to work with. Who was it? Was it Bradley Cooper that maybe said some things about him on the American Hustle set? So it's been some things that in the past, where he hasn't always gotten along with people. But that's just acting and working with people. You're not going to get along with everybody.
Yeah.
But if you're curious, go to YouTube and look up Christian Bale tirade on the Terminator Salvation set. It's a hoot.
It's a hoot.
He's not the only actor to do that. Tom Cruise is known for a couple of blow-ups on sets. Maybe not quite to the extent that Bale is, but Cruises are a little more passionate, I think, more than Bale's, because it's more about wanting people to do well. We'll get to more Cruise in a minute with next week's movie preview.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Terminator films, I do obviously Terminator 2 is the best. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Then the original Terminator would be. I was going to throw in a top 5, so we're just going to talk the top 5 Terminator movies, and then the original Terminator would be number 2, and then 3 gets a little. You could do Salvation. You could. I really like Dark Fate. What's funny is Dark Fate. Cameron. I was going back to what you said about Cameron. Said that he felt Salvation didn't change enough. Okay, Cameron. So you produced Dark Fate, and all you did in Dark Fate was change it just enough where you introduced a new girl who's now the new savior of the resistance instead of John Connor. And from what I've read, a lot of people didn't like Dark Fate because of that. They're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Who's this chick?
Yeah.
I like Dark Fate. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy Dark Fate. But I could see how audiences were like, wait, where's John Connor? Who's this chick?
Yeah. And then they tried to make They tried to go female with it, and then what didn't make sense to me was the way she rallied people. So we're talking about a movie right now where Moon Blood Gold had some angry guys that wanted to fight her and do things to her, and she goes, hey, we're not the enemy. We shouldn't be fighting with each other. The machines are the enemy. And they're like, give us your ass, bend over, bitch, basically. And in Dark Fate, she walks up to these guys that are fighting, and she's like, hey, we shouldn't be fighting each other. We should be fighting the machines. And they're like, oh, you know what? You're right. You're our new leader now. And I'm like, what the fuck is this?
That's probably the weirdest part.
In Salvation is more accurate to probably what would have happened. And it's like Dark Fate, it's like, let's all hold hands and defeat the bad guys.
And that's the only part I don't like about Dark Fate is that. The rest of it, I like the action scenes. Ms. Kinsey Grace is freaking awesome in it. I always want to see her be back in another Terminator film. I like some of the ideas of Carl just having to go into hiding because of, there's things I like about it. So, you can kind of flip-flop Salvation and Dark Fate at 3 and 4, and obviously Genesis is the worst. I mean, there's no doubt it's the fifth. Yep. I mean, it's just a crap film. Well, I'll give it credit. The first hour is okay. The second hour just completely falls apart. The first hour's fine. And then we had the TV show, Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles, which was actually really good. Introduces a lot of new concepts, a lot of cool stuff. And have you ever watched all of it, Matt, being a Terminator fan?
Yeah,
I think it's all available. Yeah.
Yeah, the female Terminator that comes by, and it's fun. I think she goes to school with John at one point.
Yeah.
But it
gets better. It's a show that definitely you have to let it roll. And it was really starting to roll in season 2. Then Fox canceled it. So we never got that third season.
You even had the lady who played Dyson's wife come back. And the lady who plays Sarah Connor comes back and has like a meeting with her and talks to her. And I like that it, kind of connected in some way to Terminator 2. That was fun. But yeah, it did get better as it went along. That's for sure.
Yeah. So, that's kind of the history of the live action Terminator franchise. And, this is a franchise, I think, with Terminator 0 coming out, I think it'll come back in some way. I think we haven't seen our last Terminator movie, but I do, as much as I love Arnold and love the stories, I think it's time for a reboot. I think just start fresh. I think this is a cool fucking universe. I think there's a lot of stories to be told, but I think it's just maybe time to just start it. And don't I think you could reboot this without doing the same story over again. You don't need to send John back in time. Let's think of a fresh way to reboot it. Maybe some writer out there and director will think of a good way. I almost think Terminator Salvation, that kind of story is the right way to reboot this franchise. Let's tell a future story. Let's build the Resistance. Let's build it. Then maybe eventually have a story where we send Kyle back in time, and do it from that.
I think you have to do it that way. And, you basically end with a film that what is it, the Tet offensive or the offensive that they launched against Skynet caused them to send a Terminator back in time. It's like you could build it up until that point, and then
send him back to be continued
there. Yeah. And then that way you don't mess with the sanctity that is Terminator 1 and 2. Even though you probably could at this point, maybe. But I think to be better received by fans, you start it in the future and then work your way back with a to be continued kind of thing. Yeah.
Go from there. I mean, it's a franchise. It's lots of video games, lots of toys and comics have been made over the years.
Terminator Salvation is still in a lot of these arcades,
Yeah. Oh, man, the game that came out on Xbox 360 and PS3 was actually a really good game.
Yeah.
I actually have that on my PS3. I really want to get that Terminator, was it Rise of the Resistance game that's on PS5 and Xbox and all that? I want to get that game eventually. Yeah. Things that surprise me, you don't always have. Me and big Terminator fans, you haven't bought that game. I don't think it's a PlayStation exclusive. I'm pretty sure it's on Xbox also.
But check it out.
But you don't game. You game a little bit. You don't game quite as much as I do.
I don't,
But yeah, man, Terminator Salvation. We've now covered 4 of the And we didn't even put Terminator 3 on our list. God dang, we left out a movie, Matt.
Oh shit, we did leave
I
out
would put
Terminator.
we'll put Terminator 3 at number 5, then Genesis last. That's fair. And then Salvation and Dark Fate mixed in the middle. Kind of could be 3 or 4. You can kind of flip them. So that's fair.
That's fair.
But we've now covered 4 or 5 of the 6. We've covered 4 of the 6. We haven't covered Genesis and Dark Fate. Don't know that we'll ever cover Genesis. Maybe Dark Fate one day, if we get around to it. And look for Terminator 0 on Netflix on August 29th. That should be cool. But until then, next week. So we kind of have a somewhat unofficial tradition around the 4th of July of covering a Tom Cruise film because his birthday is, it's July 3rd, I believe. I don't want to get it wrong, man.
It's July something.
It's right around the 4th of July. Tom Cruise, let me see, July 3rd. So his birthday is coming up this Wednesday. So last couple of years we've done some cruise films. I think we did Top Gun one year. We did our plan was originally we were going to do another Mission Impossible film this year until the powers that be and the strike pushed Dead Reckoning Part 2 back till next year. So we're going to save the Mission Impossible films. But we're going to go back and talk a film that's celebrating its 10th anniversary and should have been a summer blockbuster, but it didn't do as well as it could have at the box office. But this is a cool ass film. Talk about cool sci-fi, and that is Edge of Tomorrow.
I'm going to tell you a story. At first, it's going to sound ridiculous. But the longer I talk,
We have to find the keys.
the more rational it's going to appear.
I can't believe you found coffee.
Sugar, right?
Yeah.
Hold on. 3. You like 3.
How many times have we been here? How many times?
For me, it's been an eternity.
This is not the end.
The invasion will fail. We lose everything.
This is not the end.
I die within 5 minutes of landing on that beach, along with every other soldier.
How did you do that?
Come on!
Come find me when you wake up.
You do know what's happening to me.
What happened to you happened to me. You hijacked their power.
How do I control it?
You have to die. Every day. Keep coming here and I'll train you. Again. Your leg's broken.
No, I'm good.
Then you better start over.
Oh, come on! I'm not a soldier.
Of course you're not. You're a weapon. They want to conquer the rest of the world. Unless you change the outcome.
We are not equipped for what's out there.
How many times have we been here? What are you not telling me?
It's gonna be dark in a few hours.
And curl up by the fire and open a bottle of wine. We should just reset.
Whoa!
Also known as Live, Die, Repeat, which is what the name of the original manga that the movie was based on.
That's what I thought.
And this is a crazy ass film where Tom is he's not even actually a soldier. He's a publicity guy for the army in a future war against aliens, and he's thrown into combat, and something happens to him where he keeps reliving the same day over and over again when he gets killed, and has to figure out how to stop the aliens and get them off our planet once and for all. So it's Groundhog Day in the future, but it's such cool concepts, such cool stuff. I always dig stuff with mech suits. I know we both do. That's why we're talking Robot Jocks, Gundam, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mech suits are always pretty badass. So for Tom Cruise's birthday, our annual around July 4th movie, we're going to discuss Edge of Tomorrow next week on the show. Not sure if it's streaming anywhere. I have it on my Vudu account, so I had a copy to watch. And so, if you want to watch along with us, I'm sure it's probably playing somewhere. But that'll be next week on the show. And again, look for that 10th anniversary episode that will be out soon. as we celebrate 10 years of the Rebel Radio podcast, which is pretty cool. And that's all I've got today. Rebel Radio Podcast, the rebelradiopodcast.com, of course, is our website. And this has been Matt.
It's been
Mark.
Yeah, this has been Matt.
I was looking at you. I read your name off the screen. This has been Mark, and you were Matt.
Yep.
I know.
I almost said this has been Mark. Get people like confused.
We would really.
Even
Good
more.
thing we didn't do call it the M&M podcast. We really would have confused ourselves. But
For real.
That's funny. But until next time, remember as always, just go there and do it.
Just go there and do it.